It's amazing how Colin always, every year he gets my name slightly better. And so I think in 10 years he'll probably get there. Um, well, I'm assuming all of you are probably more pissed off and more tired now, but I'm also feeling good that probably stayed back to listen to my session. So thank you. Thanks also to the ABSL team, the wonderful Christina and Andrea for inviting us here and helping make this possible. I am delighted to be back here. Probably done this this is the 4th time I'm here presenting on a topic that is quite close to my heart, and also what we do at Everest Group. Quick introduction. Everest Group is a Dallas headquartered research and advisory firm. We focus entirely on the global services space, so helping our clients across the enterprise, shared services, and service provider side optimize their service delivery. This could be across things like workforce strategy, service delivery optimization, digital transformation, and so on. So we publish research as well as do customer advisory work. I'm a vice president with the firm, Anurag Srivastava. That's the right way to say it, Colin. I hope you're paying attention. But a year is too long a time to forget, so I'll probably be back to. Based in our London office, been with the firm nearly 10 years now. I lead a lot of our work with enterprises and shared services on their workforce strategy. So again, delighted to be here and welcome all of you. Just as we go along, so what are the key things we're going to be looking at? First, we're going to look at what is innovation, right? So there's a lot of different definitions in the market. People are innovative about what they call innovation. So while we do our research with shared services, we wanted to set down some guidelines as to what we will call and define as innovation, right? So a lot of this is based on the research we do with shared services centers like yourselves, enterprises, as well as some indications of what service providers are doing in their delivery centers, right? And then we look at why enterprises are actually passing on the mandate of delivering and leading on innovation to the shared services, right? So there are some reasons why shared services are actually very well equipped to lead innovation. And then finally, we look at how shared services or best-in-class shared services are actually doing this. So what are the things they are doing well, and also what things have to change significantly for them to actually do this really well, right? And that's sort of a map of what we're going to cover today. In terms of defining innovation, right? So let's have some audience participation. Let's see what people would define as innovation within your shared services centers. I'm assuming a lot of you are involved in what you believe is innovation. So what things do you believe count as innovation within service delivery? I hope there's some mics around the hall. Are there? Okay, people can probably just shout. So if I ask you guys, right? So what do you consider innovation within your service delivery? Faster results, so sort of optimizing processes maybe, right? That's a good one, yeah? Transforming client service, so customer-oriented improvements, right? So you want to improve customer experiences, make it faster, seamless, more digital, right? Anyone else? Faster? Service adoption, right? So that's a good one as well. Any more? Yeah? New technologies, right? So things like blockchain, RPA, automation, AI, cognitive automation. Any more that we couldn't cover? Okay, so that's pretty much captures what we would define as innovation as well. So new ideas around processes that got covered. We had addressing a client need, which comes close to answering a customer problem or improving customer service. There's also adding value to the customer. So in some ways, this is slightly different from what we covered. So this also goes into actually adding business value. So maybe helping a customer deliver better products to your client, right? Adding value to your own company. So we have examples of companies or shared services actually helping customize products to the local market. So you as Romanian shared services helping, let's say ING or SocGen actually customize your own products for the Romanian market. So that's an example as well. And then it's not just about coming up with the idea or actually shaping the idea, it's also about helping execute the idea, right? And we'll look at some of the dimensions as to where shared services are involved. Okay. Why do shared services get involved? They have a view of the entire spectrum of services that the company is offering. So they are more internal, they're more intimate to the organization. So they have that vision, share that vision with the company. They have access to niche skills and scarce talent that in the first place brought the company to set up the shared services in that location, right? So they have, as well as, if you look at the last point there, in many areas, shared services or internal delivery centers are actually the places that are where the process experts are, right? So they're not even present in the headquarters or business locations now. They're actually concentrated more in the shared services, plus they have multifunctional expertise across business process, IT, digital, etc. And then, obviously there is the cost of innovation, because that led to the first case of the shared services being set up in that location, partly because of cost arbitrage, partly because of skills arbitrage, which we covered as well. At the same time, there are different kinds of innovation, right? So we can cluster the innovation into 2 or 3 categories. One is data and analytics. So essentially using data that you already have to enhance customer experience, become faster at things like fraud detection maybe, or actually improving customer targeting and acquisition strategies. There could be technology and process-led innovation that the gentleman in the front there covered. So helping the enterprise adopt automation or blockchain faster. And then finally, there's product innovation. So like I said, helping the firm, helping the enterprise actually customize a product or actually fasten the route to market for a product, right? Just by a show of hands, how many of you here are actually engaged in things you would classify as data and analytics kind of innovation? Okay, fair sprinkling. How about technology and process innovation? Okay, so there's probably more examples there. And finally, product innovation. Okay, so similar to the first one. So this is slightly different from what we see in the broader market. So the base for this survey was sort of global. So they had representation from India, Philippines, South Africa, Poland, Mexico, Costa Rica. Across the board, I think what we've seen is because of the maturity of most shared services, they are largely, or a lot of them are actually doing more of data and analytics driven innovation. So that's where it starts. Then it goes into more the product innovation, right? So product innovation is actually the least adopted. What you see there is the best in class, but actually the average is actually further behind, right? What things are shared services actually involved in, right? So not across the board are shared services driving everything within innovation in the shared services, right? There's more involvement in things that require multifunctional expertise, or more people, or actually access to multiple skills. So there's more in concept testing. There's more in development and implementation because it provides a low cost of innovation plus presence of skills. And there's also feedback and validation, which then after you've done some design closer to the business, closer to the HQ, and you've done some idea generation, you have tested in the market, and then you have some feedback and validation to sort of incorporate in the product, let's say. So there's different extents to which shared services are getting involved across the whole value chain, right? And it's not to say that this is right or this is what you should be doing, but just a state of the market. As we see the market evolving, we see more and more leading shared services organizations, especially the ones that can collaborate across different locations, actually get involved in more of the idea generation and designing part as well. And at the same time, there are many ideas that are coming from the back office to the enterprise, right? Especially around customizing products for the local market, or actually things like data-driven innovation. So then we come to the third question that we set out to answer today, which is how do you actually do it, or what things have to change, or what things have actually to become better significantly, right? In our assessment, it is process, people, and culture. But the difference is that the culture is actually a multiplier, right? So there is process and people, yes, you have to bank on the right people, retrain, upskill, and sort of make them better. At the same time, the fundamental thing that needs to change, and that will actually be a big defining factor of your exponential growth and innovative potential is actually culture, right? And there are multiple elements to each of these. We will, because of paucity of time and your pissiness, we will not get into all of this. We'll look at some of these. In particular, we'll look at the idea generation mechanisms. So what do you need to implement to get better at that? We'll look at some governance ideas. And then also the topic that is very close to my heart, which is talent, right? So how do you actually gear up to make your talent engine more compatible with innovation, right? And then we look at what culture means and what things have to change there. So first of all, coming to idea generation, right? So how are shared services getting these ideas? Where are they getting these from? Predominantly, a large proportion of these ideas are still coming from internal mechanisms, right? So including both what is the shared services center itself, but also the enterprise. So this is capturing the internal, improvement ideas and getting them through the system to prioritize and then implement. There's also external innovation, right? So this is essentially collaborating with third-party service providers, startups, and universities, academia, to actually capture what they may have suggestions or get into innovation labs or COEs to get access to more ideas. But what we see very distinctly now happening is dedicated innovation teams that are centers of innovation within a firm and are driving that process forward. It is not to say that they are detached from the internal and external. They're actually banking on both and capturing ideas from both places, because I think the belief is that the best ideas can come from anywhere, right? So they're actually not letting any opportunity go, but they are then funneling these ideas into the overall engine and sort of then prioritizing and implementing innovation that way. So that was a big learning for us as well. In terms of governance, so this is more about how do you actually govern the idea mechanism, or how do you govern innovation. So there are elements around how do you measure performance, how do you measure success, right? So one of the things that we capture that shared services are doing is that they're looking at concept-related indicators. How many ideas are you able to generate, right? How many POCs, and so on. And then there's financial indicators, which is going into what is the ROI of my investment, right? Or what is the saving that my firm is deriving out of this innovation. So these are other ways of measuring innovation. And then finally, you have operational indicators, which is more of how many people are involved in innovation, how many number of hours were contributed, how many managers are driving that process. It's more sort of similar to financial, but more operational parameters. In terms of adoption and prevalence in the market, we see more of the idea and concept generation related metrics, also because of the maturity of this stream of work within enterprises, our shared services. We see less of financial. It's also because a lot of these innovations have not actually progressed yet through the engine, and so there's no result yet, and so there's no the financial impact of these innovations or innovative ideas is yet to be measured, or cannot yet be measured. And then finally, we have operational indicators which find decent amount of adoption in the market for now. The third topic that we wanted to pick up was talent practices. So like we saw multiple times during the day-to-day, very different sets of skills will be needed. We also saw from the Dale Carnegie presentation that there's a difference between what is needed versus what is being invested in, right? So you see things like leadership skills here. You see things like creative problem solving and empathy here, which were in that presentation as well. So that's a good thing. Things are talking the same language, but you also see that there are some skills that will become increasingly more important as we go along. At the same time, what we are seeing is, and this has also got covered to some extent earlier, was there are changes as to how enterprises and shared services are accessing this talent, right? So it's not simple enough to just lay out a different JD in the market and ask your HR team or your recruiter to actually find you the right talent, but actually you need to also leverage and be creative around. So you need to be innovative around how to drive your innovation in terms of talent, right? So you look at tangential or lateral markets. And we are seeing these examples. These are real examples of roles that are being used in shared services to actually implement some processes. But also, we are aware of this very well. We have this acqui-hiring concept where small startups are actually being acquired, not just actually predominantly for their talent and the richness of their employee base. And I'll summarize all of this and how this comes together. Finally, the culture bit. Like I said, it is not just important to change what things, how things work in your organization, but also relook at and redeploy things. So some of these are physical things that you can do. So for example, you can make changes to physical environment, like Ilinka said. You can gamify training and learning processes. You can use some flexible employment models, give more freedom, give more work-life balance to people that spurs more innovation. You can change performance metrics. We can change governance metrics that we just looked at. But also there's some more softer factors where leadership and vision comes into play. So things like having more emphasis in terms of your talent on speed and agility and multicultural ability to work in a global environment. That becomes more important, as well as having or promoting a mindset that is more around experimentation rather than focusing on hard skills like IT skills or language skills, right? So that's the culture bit. Finally, I think what I wanted to do was, and you can look at this is the innovation. We call this the innovation tightrope. This is not a straight line, as you can see. There are many twists and turns, and some of these will be unpredictable. But there's still some best practices that we gleaned from our interactions with shared services that have done it really well, right? So I think I'll walk you through some of them. So one is obviously you have to have alignment, with the organization as to what is the aim of the innovation engine, right? What are the common visions and missions? And the shared services center has to be in line with the overall organization. That helps you get support from the leadership. And then you also have to draw in middle management into that entire exercise, because otherwise these are the people that will be driving your programs. And if you don't have support from the leadership, that creates a problem for funding. If you don't have support in the middle management, then the process becomes stuck somewhere, right? So you have to have cultural alignment with the entire pyramid, so to say. Third, you have to fail fast, right? Make high velocity decisions. Do not be afraid of experimenting. In a lot of cases that we looked at, some of these ideas and initial seed funding was actually coming from the shared services center itself, right? So there was no backing from the parent. Only when there were a few successful proofs of concept initially that the organization actually said, okay, let me fund this program because it seems to be doing so well, right? So fail fast, fail quick, fail fast, but also focus on getting what didn't go well and what can go well. Ecosystem, like I said earlier, do not be afraid to tap into the best ideas that may come from practically anywhere. So we see examples of companies leveraging, like I said, startups and universities and third-party providers, acqui-hiring actually being part of that as well. And then we have incentivizing innovation, so have that cultural change where you actually value employees that are able to contribute in that way. Change your performance metrics was also a brilliant mechanism behind that. And then finally we have not being afraid to actually borrow. So learn from others' failures, best practices. It goes into the sense of low cost of innovation, right? So if you fail too many times, you also add to the overall cost of innovation. You also generate that negative cultural mindset. And so it's important to actually learn from the failings of others. And then finally, tracking and governing that entire process, have a remedial process as well, so that everything aligns towards a certain common mindset and common vision and mission to achieve that. And then finally you get innovation where the bulb lights up. Finally, just to close this, right? So you've heard me talk about some of these findings. Obviously, this is a rapidly evolving market, so we continue to invest in this as a research area. I continue to invest in this. We're happy for you to get involved. What we do is we conduct some surveys where we talk to many shared services centers and enterprises. and try to really capture what are the two dimensions that we capture actually. One is what are the investments that they are making in terms of capabilities. So that's at the bottom. What was their vision and strategy? What is the breadth and depth of services that they're offering? So some of their investments and inputs, so to say, into the system. And then on the y-axis, we have the impact that they were able to generate. Now, this is across business impact, operational impact, etc. And so then we talk to many enterprises, we survey them, we survey shared services, and we essentially map them on these axes. And so, as you can see, it is not really a straight line, but it's very close to a straight line, which basically says that the more you actually invest in things that matter, the better results you get, the more impact you're able to create. So this is an interesting exercise. I think for many shared services that participated, this was actually a feed into their planning strategy. They got a sense of how they were doing, what they could have done better, what were the leaders in the market doing better. So we have a category of pinnacle, what we call pinnacle shared services that we believe have the best inputs, but also the best outputs that they derive out of it. And so there are many learnings from these pinnacle shared services as to what will be useful for you. So, what capabilities that did they build that were important and important in terms of getting to the right output, and what kind of business outcomes have they delivered, right? So have they actually contributed to top line or bottom line, or what other strategic impacts were they able to create? So very happy for any of you to participate. If you participate, you get a sense of where actually you map on that on these axes. We will not disclose that to any other shared services. So this is not a public map. We don't release who is placed where. But this is a good exercise for those who participate in terms of what others did that was so useful, and also gets you a sense of where you place. With that, I will end this. I'm around for the rest of the evening. Happy to take any questions. Thank you so much for patient listening.